David Herbert Lawrence. And he is a writer of many famous novels. Not only that, he is a versatile genius. He has written poetry, he has written criticism, he has written novel, okay? And even at the last years of his life, he has written some criticism based on religion, okay? So he is the writer of Sons and Lovers, that was published in 1913, Rainbow, Women in Love, Iron's Rod, Kangaroo, The Plumed Serpent, Lady Chatterley's Lover, that was published 2 years before his death, and that was published in 1928, and he died in 1930. But the irony is that that novel was banned in USA until 1959. কত সাল পর্যন্ত? 1959 পর্যন্ত ইউএসএ তে ব্যান্ড ছিল, এবং 1960 সালে এই নভেলের বিরুদ্ধে কেস হয় যে কেন এটাকে পাবলিশ করা যাবে না। তখন জুরিরা বলে যে ইয়াস, do you think that this novel is not true? If it is not true, then you can't publish it. If it is true, then it can be published. Okay? And then it was published in UK in 1960. Okay? So that is the novel. And some other writings, criticism are there in his credit. That is D.S. Lawrence. He was what I forget, he later said that I shall not forget the hacks, a tiny red brick farm on the edge of the wood where I got my first incentive to write. Okay, so why the biography of the writer is important for understanding the literary text, that is, in which way the writer got inspiration. Excuse me. Can I? বাইরে থেকে কেউ অসুস্থ? Where I got my first incentive to write. That means actually writer's bio and the writer's everyday incidents will get inspiration in his intellectual thinking that we have learned in our previous novel, that is Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. The same thing happened to D.S. Lawrence's life. And his linguistic precision, mastery of a wide range of subjects, matters and genres, psychological complexity, and exploration of female sexuality. These are the themes D.S. Lawrence wrote his novels and writings. Okay. And the things were a taboo. Taboo, you know, the things cannot be told in the open place, before the audience. Okay. D.S. Lawrence did that, and he was born in this area. Okay, you will get the name of this area. Okay, and that is born in England in 1885. He is regarded one of the most influential writers of the 20th century, and he published many novels, poetry, volumes during his lifetime, including Sons and Lovers and Women in Love, but is best known for his infamous writing, that is Lady Chatterley's Lover. Okay, and especially his highly sexual novel was published in Italy in 1928 and was banned in United States until 1959 and England until 1960. Okay. And he died in France in 1930. That means he only lived 44 years. The great writers actually they were alive for a short time. So that was not an exception for D.S. Lawrence. He had been suffering from tuberculosis, and last 2 years he couldn't write anything, and he died in Italy. And he traveled extensively towards the several parts of Europe, especially Italy, Germany, and some other parts. And he was born in Eastwood, Nottinghamshire, England. Okay? Nottinghamshire, you can call it, they call it borough, just like the divisional city in Bangladesh. Nottinghamshire is there, Nottingham University is there. He was born, especially this area, look this area, that's the picture, that Nottinghamshire and Eastwood, okay? And especially, that's, you see the picture is not clear. And why it is not clear? That means this area was covered by so many mines. Mines, you know, coal mines, কয়লা খনি, এবং এই কয়লা খনির কারণে চারিদিকে সবসময় মনে হচ্ছে যে একটা ডাস্ট চারিদিকে ছড়িয়ে আছে, as you see in the sky. So in the Eastwood, Nottinghamshire, he was born, and especially the childhood memories and the growing up of a boy or girl, okay, will create an influence to his mentality. So in this Nottinghamshire, our writer David Herbert was born and grew up. This is an area dominated by many coal mines. Coal, C-O-A-L, pronunciation, coal mines. And this coal mines area he was born. And his father, Arthur John Lawrence, was a coal miner. His father, that means David Herbert Lawrence's father, was a coal miner. Miner means যারা খনিতে কাজ করে। কে? ডেভিড হার্বার্টের বাবা এই খনিতে কাজ করত। But his mother, Lydia Lawrence, belonged to the middle class family, and she had a fascination for literature. And Lydia actually worked for some part-time jobs. She had been working in the industry, especially the lace making industry, to supplement the family income. Lawrence's mother was born in a middle-class family, and that had fallen into the financial ruin, but not before she had become well educated and a great lover of literature. Okay, so well-matched marriage and mismatched marriage or wrongly married life. David Herbert's father was a coal miner. That means the working class people belong to the working class people, and the middle class, they will have wealth, and sometimes they will have a little bit aristocracy. So David Herbert's mother had that kind of belonging, that is, she belonged to a middle class family, and she was educated, and also she was a great lover of literature. And she instilled in young age, that means David Herbert Lawrence, a lover of books and a strong desire to rise above his blue-collared beginnings. Okay, so that means David Herbert's mother instilled to our writer David Herbert Lawrence, that is, the Herbert D.H. Lawrence started loving books and literature, and that inspiration David Herbert got from his mother. Actually, what you see in the bios of this novel, of this writer, same thing, quite similar thing we will be getting in the novel, that is Sons and Lovers. So put focus and try to concentrate well on the biography, that is quite similar to the story of this novel and the biography of David Herbert Lawrence. So David Herbert Lawrence, he got the inspiration to read so many books from his mother. And Actually, not only that kind of inspiration, in the Nottinghamshire, where David Herbert Lawrence was born, every children over there would be a coal miner over there. সেই নটিংহামশায়ারে লরেন্সের মতো অন্য বাচ্চারা যারা ছিল তারা সবাই কি হতো, তাদের বাবার মতো চাচার মতো কোল মাইনার হতে চেত। কিন্তু লরেন্স কি হতে চেয়েছিল? লরেন্স তাদের বাবার মতো হতে চায় নাই। হি স্টার্টেড লাভিং বুকস অ্যান্ড হি ওয়ান্টেড টু বি আ ডিফারেন্ট, নট স্পেশালি দ্য কোল মাইনার। সে কোল মাইনার হতে চায় নাই। এবং এটা কেন সে হলো? That was the inspiration he gave from his mother. Good. Lawrence had a scribble working class upbringing made a strong impression on him, and he later wrote extensively about the experience of growing up in a poor mining town. So this experience was a tribute, the experience of bringing up in a coal miner family. That experience was a tribute in his writing, that means D.S. Lawrence's writing. Okay, so we can make an analogy, that means সোনার চামচ মুখে দিয়ে আসলে তার থেকে কে দিয়ে লিখে আসে না। যদি ডেভিড হার্বার্ট লরেন্স এই নটিংহামশায়ারে কোল মাইনিং টাউনে জন্মগ্রহণ না করতো, তাহলে আমরা হয়তো এই ডেভিড হার্বার্ট লরেন্সকে পেতাম না। ওকে, সো হিজ ফাদার্স কোল মাইনিং career, his mother middle class belongingness, that and also the incidents of Nottinghamshire, everything gave tribute to our writer, that is David Herbert Lawrence. He became so one of the great writers of 20th century. Again he said that as a child, Lawrence often struggled to fit in with other boys. He was physically frail, frequently susceptible to illness. সব সময় অসুস্থ থাকতো, হ্যাংলা পাতলা, খুব অসুস্থ। And by the dirty air of the town, surrounded by the coal pits. Coal pits, যেই জায়গাগুলোতে কয়লার খনি থাকে, সেখান থেকে সবসময় এক প্রকারের ডাস্ট আকাশে উঠতে থাকে, এবং এই ডাস্টগুলো যখন মানুষ শ্বাস হিসেবে গ্রহণ করে তারা অসুস্থ হয়ে যায়। এবং সেই সময় এমনিতেই পুরো ইউরোপে অনেক মানুষ টিউবারকিউলোসিসে মারা যেত। টিউবারকিউলোসিস কি? যক্ষা। তার প্রধান একটা কারণ ছিল সেই সময় শিল্প বিপ্লব হয়েছিল। শিল্প বিপ্লব হওয়ার কারণে ইন্ডাস্ট্রি অনেক বেশি প্রতিষ্ঠিত হয়েছিল। তার সাথে একে আবহাওয়া খারাপ, তার সাথে সো মেনি ডাস্ট ইন দ্য ইয়ার, সবগুলো মিলায়ে প্রতি বছর প্রচুর মানুষ টিউবারকিউলোসিসে মারা যেত। Our writer D.S. Lawrence was one of them. He was poor at sport. সে খেলতে পারতো না, unlike nearly every other boy in town. Had no desire to follow his father's footsteps and become a miner. So he didn't want to be a miner. But he was an excellent student. He was good at reading and writing, and at the age of 12 he became the first boy in Eastward history to win a scholarship to Nottingham High School. Eastward হলো হচ্ছে নটিংহামশায়ারের একটা টাউন, এবং সেখান থেকে সে 12 বছর বয়সে তার লেখাপড়া ভালোর জন্য he got a scholarship to study in Nottingham High School. He went there. Still সেখানে যেও he fell ill and also grew depressed and lethargic in his studies, graduating in 1901, having made little academic impression. So in high school again he got sick, and however he was graduated in 1901. Reflecting back on the childhood, Lawrence said that if I think of my childhood, it was always as if there was a sort of inner darkness, like the glues of coal, in which we moved and had our being. So every time D.S. Lawrence had the story and at the remember every time D.S. Lawrence remembered the history of Nottinghamshire and Stoke, especially the coal mining area. In 1901 তখন তার বয়স কত হলো? কত সালে জন্মগ্রহণ করেছিল সে? 1885. So in this age 1901 এ তার বয়স কত হলো? কত হলো? 16 years. He took a job as a factory clerk at Nottingham surgical appliance manufacturer called Haywood. However, the autumn, his old brother William suddenly fell ill and died. And in his grief, Lawrence also came down with a bad case of pneumonia. Okay, so he got first job and especially at that time, every boys and girls, they will be starting the part-time job from their school. Okay, so D.S. Lawrence also starting a part-time job in a Haywood factory, a surgical appliance factory. Okay, the warehouse, and there he started his job. And next time his elder brother William died. William আমরা কিন্তু নোভেলেও এই একই রকম চরিত্র পাবো, যেমন D.S. লরেন্সের বড় ভাই সে মারা যাবে, আরো বড় ভাই তারা আর্মিতে চাকরি করে, সবগুলো আমরা এখানে পাবো. So there he again fall ill, and there after recovering he began working as a student teacher in the British school Eastwood, where he met a young woman named Jessie Chambers, and who became his close friend and intellectual companion. Close friend we know, but the intellectual companion, this is the first time our writer D.S. Lawrence fall in love with Jessie Chambers, and with the inspiration of Jessie Chambers, the intellectual thinking of D.S. Lawrence that also happened. And same kind of incidents we will be getting in novel, yeah. And at her encouragement, whose encouragement? Her encouragement, Jessie Chambers, he began writing poetry and also started drafting his first novel, which would eventually become The White Peacock. Okay, so White Peacock, he wrote his writing, and with the inspiration of Jessie Chambers, he started writing poetry. Before that, we haven't got the information that he started writing. এর আগ পর্যন্ত আমরা বুঝতে পারি নাই. So in a writer's life, every incident will first-hand experience will create impact on developing his intellectual level. Okay, if anybody stays at home, second year এ আপনাদের ভার্জিনিয়া উলফের উইমেন অ্যান্ড ফিকশন ছিল না? ছিল ইন্ট্রোডাকশন টু প্রজ ছিল না? ছিল। সেখানে আমরা দেখেছি যে এক্সপিরিয়েন্স কি, মেয়েদের ক্ষেত্রে যে এক্সপিরিয়েন্স থাকে না। সো জেসি চেম্বার্স influenced our writer D.S. Lawrence to write poetry, and at the same time he composed his first novel, that is The White Peacock. So the two things is important over there, that is D.S. Lawrence's part-time job in a surgical appliance factory, and next time he fall in love with a girl, Jessie Chambers, and he wrote poetry, and also he wrote his first novel. Interesting things have happened over here. In 1906, Lawrence left Eastwood, she চাকরিটা ছেড়ে দিল, and attended the University College of Nottingham to obtain his teacher's certificate. কিছুদিন সেখানে সে পড়িয়েছিল. While there, he won a short story competition, An Enjoyable Christmas, a Prelude, which was published in Nottingham Guardian in 1907. Okay? So this is an essay he wrote. So first time he wrote poems, then novels, and this time he wrote an essay, and that was published in Nottingham Guardian, a famous magazine at the time. He wrote that, and in order to enter multiple stories, সেখানে এক নামে তো দুটো স্টোরি দেওয়া যাবে না, এজন্য জেসি চেম্বারের নামে সে এখানে আরেকটা এসে দিল, সেটার নাম কি ছিল? অ্যান এনজয়েবল ক্রিসমাস আর প্রেলিউড under J.C. Chambers' name, and although it was published as such, the people soon discovered that Lawrence was its true author. So in the Guardian, Nottingham Guardian, he wrote 2 essays in 1907. That means he was at that time was 22 years old. Okay. So he wrote poems, White Peacocks, and the 2 essays in Nottingham Review. In 1908, having received his teaching certificate, Lawrence took a teaching post as an elementary school in the London suburb of Croydon. He also continued to write, and in 1909 he received his big break when J.C. Chambers managed to get some of his English poems published in English Review. Okay? So in the meantime he had been writing so many things, and he especially the J.C. Chambers inspired him and put many poems in English Review, and they all were published. The publisher at the English Review took a great interest in Lawrence's work, recommending his draft of the White Peacock to another publisher, William Henneman, and who printed in 1911. Set in his childhood hometown at Eastwas, the novel foreshadowed many of the themes that would pervade his later work, such as mismatched marriage and class divides. Okay? So he wrote in such a way. And after that he wrote another novel, second novel. White Peacock was the first novel that was published in 1911, and next time The Trespasser. That was a story based on the experience of a fellow teacher who had an affair with a married man who then committed suicide. So that is the story of The Trespasser, and it was the second novel of the writer. Look here, every novel we will see the taboo, that means the relationship between men and women at that time when the writer was only 22 or 3 years old. Around the same time, Lawrence became engaged to an old friend from college and named Laurie Browse. And in 1912, he went to visit a professor at Nottingham professor, Ernest Weekly. এই প্রফেসরের কাছে কেন গেল? To study literature and to know many things about the writings, about his future and his writing. And during this visit, Lawrence fell desperately in love with Weekly's wife, Frieda von Richthofen. Okay, so he went there to get his teaching from the professor, and at that time he fell desperately in love with the professor's wife. Not only that, Lawrence immediately resolved to break off his engagement while teaching and try to make a living as a writer, and by May of that year he had persuaded Frieda to leave her family. So next time Lawrence persuaded the professor's wife to release from his marriage life from professors, and they left. This couple, that means the professor's wife and D.S. Lawrence, left England and went to Germany, later traveling to Italy. Okay. So these are the incidents of writers. And while traveling with his new love, the first time he got relation with J.C. Chambers. So second time he had a friendship with some other, and third time he had a deep love relationship with a professor's wife. And not only that, they left England and went to Germany and Italy. And actually same kinds of incidents we will see in the novel Sons and Lovers. While traveling with his new love, Lawrence continued to write at a furious pace. Actually, we can say that this is the natural feelings, that means the sexual relationship at the time was a taboo. And whenever writer himself, that is D.S. Lawrence himself, was involved in some kind of activities, that was a taboo, but that was the true incidents of the society. And next time, Lawrence would say that I will not be a writer if there is no many lies in the society. সমাজে যদি এত মিথ্যা না থাকতো তাহলে কখনোই আমি. So in that society there are so many such kind of relationship that grew up, but it was a taboo. Any writer wouldn't get such kind of writings for fun. This is D.S. Lawrence who took that initiative and took the true story of the society, the true picture of the society through his writing. So D.S. Lawrence himself was involved in such kind of relationship, and then he published his first play, poetry, novel, essay, ebar ki likhlo she play, and for this reason he is called a versatile writer. সব কিছু লিখতে পারে. আমি এক সময় মনে করতাম যে কি জানো, সব্যসাচী এরকম লেখা আছে না, যে সব্যসাচী লেখা, আমি ভাবতাম যে মনে হয় ওনারা বিহার দিয়ে মনে হয় লিখতে পারে. Actually they can write many things. So our writer D.S. Lawrence could write poem, essay, novel, and also play. And The Daughter in Love, a later year he published his first volume of poetry, The Love Poems and Others. And in such a way we will see the incidents of these novels, Sons and Lovers, are autobiographical. All the incidents are quite similar to the writer's bio. He published his third novel, Sons and Lovers, that was published in 1913. An autobiographical story of a young man, an aspiring artist named Paul Morell. So Paul Morell is the central character in the Sons and Lovers. And D.S. Lawrence, he didn't want to be the coal miner, he wanted to be writer, and he wanted to be a great artist. When he left England and went to Germany with his second love, with the professor's wife, because he got the inspiration. We will see the same character, Paul Morell, in Sons and Lovers, that Paul Morell was an artist, okay, who struggles to transcend his upbringing in a poor mining town. The novel is widely considered Lawrence's first masterpiece, as well as one of the greatest English novels of the 20th century. So this is autobiographical. Next time we will see that The Rainbow and the Women in Love.